Can you see how it's the reflection of what is in this backwardness? That's there to be seen through eyes of heart. In order to be gentle with mind during this process, for it's hardest on mind, there are a few things that are handy, such as the 7% piece that conscious mind is of the whole. Knowing that this is more powerful than most yet know. Can you see why? One of mind's major tendencies is to arrogance, to thinking, even knowing that it is right. This is quite stunned and halted in recognizing that its conscious reach is only 7% of the pie. Most minds, on seeing this, really seeing it, will go quiet for a time. And that's fine. Heck, enjoy it. It won't last forever. You can see how this is a major tool to use in carving out your new relationship with your mind. Mind also goes into shock a bit when you begin separating out from it. After all, it thought it was you, the whole of you. It didn't know otherwise. Remember, it's mind that has been programmed. Thus, mind begins to be a bit unsure of itself as it sees you stepping outside of it, merely watching it. Some identity questions will likely come up during this time. Not only who am I, but what am I? It can be strange or disconcerting. Never mind. All is fine. Just keep going into heart. Another thing that throws mind off a good deal is simultaneous time. It doesn't know what to make of it. Sure, the science is there, but what of the experience of life? Doesn't that take time or happen in time? Do what you like with this, and with everything, of course. My suggestion, though, is not even to think about it, nor worry at it. Let it be. Mind can't understand this anyway. When understanding of time comes, of how it really is, how it really works, my suspicion is that it will arise from moving among the dimensions. We'll merely step up above the issue and it just won't be a problem anymore. It'll be clear. The lesson of heart is that there are many more avenues of understanding than just the 3D mind. Let's be open to them, and they'll come to us via our own experience. If we're open enough, they'll come soon rather than late. What is being open? It's watching your beliefs at work, knowing that's what's acting there. It's tending your garden of belief, constantly pulling the weeds that have grown there, while nurturing the flowers of new understandings as they arise. You never know what these new ones will look like either. They're the volunteers, brought there by the birds of the winds of the Holy Spirit dropping by, so just keep silent watch. You may nurture some weeds for a while. My way is to nurture everything until it finally shows itself. That way, it's true, I have nurtured some weeds in my time. But we all have, you know. It's only on watching them grow, on seeing how they bloom and behave, that we finally realize they really are weeds, some of them threatening to take over the whole garden at times. Ultimately, in all of your interior work, be empowered. Stand firmly in heart. There's actually a crown and a throne for you there. You're meant to use them. They're there as a reminder of that, our lost estate. It's not really lost, though. The dark ones, the powers that were, they cannot ever reach into heart. So there is nothing you really have or that you really are that can be touched. What the dark ones have had to do because of this to empower themselves is to teach us a false sense of who and what we are. They can manipulate that only. They can't even touch the real thing. Realize that they have no ultimate power over you. Take your power back from them right away. Whenever this comes up, as soon as you see this and really get it, their power vanishes. The reality is they never really had any. It was always fake. But that's how they work, by getting us to accept their fake creation as being real, when they're not. But we play by their rules in the game until we can see this. Once it is seen, then for them, it's basically game over regarding you. You've stepped out of their net, never to go back if that is your choice. The thing that sometimes trips us up is the need to reinforce your choice. You'll be given many opportunities to stand firm in your reasserted power. Now get this, and get it well and firmly and deeply. I wrote it in all caps again. They only have as much power over you as you will give them. Period. That is it. You, my friend, are the true source of all of the power in this game that's being played. You are the power. Now stay out of mind with this. Theirs, unfortunately, as long as they abuse life, is only fake, is only temporary. Power, just like love, truth, and joy, is an aspect or attribute of the divine. It doesn't allow itself to be long misused, just like truth or joy or any of them. It retreats back into its own divine nature and remains there. Therefore, if you can see this, all the powers that were have for power is a fake show of it. It's only a bluff, one that can be called by us at any time. Now, stay out of mind with this. Be only in heart. Set all thoughts or understandings you think you have about the bad guys in the play here. Set them aside. Just let mind go off and play with that if it wants to. You stay here. Our job is both to wake up to the secret they've hidden so well and then simply to remember it. They only have as much power as you give them. No more, not one erg. You are the power in the play. Now, sure, you've been convinced otherwise. Well, so what? That's all in the past now. Let it lay. You just didn't know, so let there be no beating up on your beautiful self. You loving you is what's called for here. We have been led down so many false paths and detours of self-abuse of every sort. We have quite lost faith in us, in our very self, in God, in divinity. Little wonder after being made puppets of for so very long. But yet, I say it again, so what? Who cares? All of that is over now, quite, if you select it that way. The choice is only yours. No one else can make it for you. Not me, not anyone. Your waking up is your very own to come into. You don't do it for the simple reason that it's already done for you. You are awake. It's just a matter of recognizing that state, though it's not really a state. But I trust you know what I mean. Deep in heart, if not consciously. All of this nonsense about the universe being deterministic, about everything as being predestined, mechanical, that is unholy rot. Sure, there are processes that, once set in motion, tend to continue. But again, so what? That doesn't make anything a foregone conclusion. Things are not linear, as mind thinks they are. Mind thinks time is linear. It's just not. These people that think this way, if they would only imagine, the lot of us, all 7 or 8 billion or so, believing that and then acting on it, that there is no such thing as free will, that everything's foreordained, that it's all only mechanical. Now just envision everyone adopting and accepting and acting on this belief. This is the total rejection of taking responsibility for one's life. Just imagine the utter chaos that would ensue. And don't think that each one wouldn't have that on his record to deal with, to clean up. Everything has consequences. This, like almost everything else, arises from a misuse of time, a misconception of what time is. If we are, say, on 6D, looking down at those on 3D, what do we see? From what I've heard, we all look something like a snake, each segment of our long spine being a 3D lifetime. Who and what we are is more accurately seen this way, as the wholeness or the fullness of all of our experiences here, not only this one. Can you acknowledge that? Can you begin to see in that way? Add time into the mix? Can you also see how in this view time is simultaneous? Each one of those segments, although whole and complete in themselves, are but part of the whole. Each one is happening in the eternal now that is. Now take it a step farther. Realize that whatever the future is, and I'm not saying it even exists, so stay out of mind, it is being created only now. Each choice you make, each thought you have impacts the future. For each and every action you take, including the reason you took it, the future is altered. In each moment, you're creating it. Now, what does that do to your concept of prophecy? Does it leave it intact? For most people, it's a very linear sense, this whole thing. It's founded on something that's not real. Most people misunderstand both prophecy and the reason that it's given. And this is due to a false belief in time and in the future, as if it were already pre-written and someone was reading from that. Well, in one way, it is. If in this moment things were to be frozen and you never thought, did, or said anything else, nor anyone else did, then the future foreseen would be the correct one. Do you see how that works? It's like Jonah in the Bible. I forget the exact story. I think it's Jonah. Might not have been. I don't know. But he was given a prophecy to share with the town, and he did. It called on the people to repent and to make certain changes, or terrible things would happen. Well, the people changed, and that was good. But then Jonah was most disappointed when what he'd prophesied didn't happen, and he complained to the Lord about it. Do you recall what the Lord said? Maybe you recall better than I do. That would be easy. But what I recall is that he was instructed on the real use of prophecy, which is to bring the people's hearts around to make necessary changes. so that what was prophesied doesn't have to happen. So Jonah was told that his prophecy, though it didn't happen as foretold, was in fact a roaring success. It accomplished its mission. We create our own future by each thought and action, each belief, and always in the now. As we stay in heart with this, more and more, letting our old mind way of understanding things go, we can come into a much deeper understanding of things. It's a way, too, of erasing all that programming that was laid down to keep us trapped. By staying in heart, we have stepped out of their traps. It's relatively easy. The real mind bender may be that the future also impacts the present. And I've got a link I have in the transcript for this. Just as the past does, the future impacts your now. It really happens like that. Time isn't separate or linear as we were taught. You can call on your future self to come and lend a hand here if you like. And who knows, maybe our guardian angels are that, our future selves, coming back, keeping watch, keep us safe. Now remember, anything is possible. Get rid of all limits, my friends. Gods are not limited, except as they choose to be, little g. The whole God thing can get a bit difficult. At least it is for most of us at a certain point. That point is always different, custom designed for and by each one. The whole reason, as I see it, for this difficulty is simply our programming. They've been working on planting their ideas of the God thing in us for thousands of years, maybe thousands of Amgodiments. I'll let the typo stand. Yes, those are Amgodiments, not embodiments. Parenthetically, no, I don't believe in coincidence. Typos aren't always typos. And once again, I'll say this. So what and who cares? It doesn't matter. That is all simply in the past, and we can leave it there if we like. The choice is ours. Let's stay in now. At some point, that's what most of us do. We just walk away from what was, pointing our eyes to what is, and maybe to what is to be instead. The past is a trap, a mind trap, but it's easy enough to walk out of it. Again, all by the choices we make. No one but you is in charge of you. And so finally, let's keep expanding out, expanding our wings to fly away from that which has been. We're very close to rising up now, even into the next dimensions. And don't be linear there either. I don't see that we'll all be rising stepwise into the same exact next dimension. Life isn't linear, in spite of what we're taught. Let our choice be ever unlimited, remembering that anything, literally anything, is possible and everything is perfect. Sure, we have a lot to learn yet. Again, so what? Is infinity and eternity time enough for that? Would you have it all be over now? I find the heart to be the perfect spot for viewing all and everything. It's always so close, closer than our breath, and always equidistant from anything and everything. Deep within heart is a spot or a connection or a portal or whatever to all that is known, to all that can be known. We know that already on some really deep level. But, my friends, we hide that on purpose from our embodied self. It is in our intention that things be this way, so we can accomplish other things, things we set out to experience and maintain in our expanded experience of self, capital S. We are both gods in the making and simultaneously gods making all that is seen and felt. It is really too much for the unaided mind to take in. So we have heart for this. To heart, this is the natural landscape. It's delighted by such conundrums, by the presence of paradox. That's heart delight. Okay, friends, I recognize that this is a long journal, and I could have said this at the beginning if I'd have been more present with it. But what I'd like to suggest is that you stop whenever you start to get fuzzy with something. Just push pause. And it may take you 3 days to get through a journal. But if you'll do it that way, you'll get the better benefit from it. I do this all the time. I'm near the pause button with whatever I'm listening to. Now, mostly I don't have to do this because mostly things are too superficial. But when you're into something that's not superficial, that's taking you deeper, pushing pause is really good. Here's how I see it. What I see is that it's like when I would be studying in college. I learned this in high school, or earlier, I don't remember. I learned that as soon as I had to read a paragraph or a sentence 2 or 3 times to stop, to just stop. If I was cramming for a test and I pushed myself anyway, what I found was that as I pushed beyond that point, all I did was muddy the waters of all of it. I endangered what I'd already studied, and it made a mess of things. I learned that when I would get fuzzy, I would just stop and just be still. I didn't know about heart back then. It's even better now. Just be in heart, just be still. Go get a drink of water, go stand outside, hug a tree or something, and then come back to it. That gives what you just took in time to penetrate deeply and to gel. And so then what you take in next has a good, reasonably solid structure to flow into and to fit into. And by doing things this way, the understanding will come the sooner. I don't pick things apart and demand that they be understood all the time. I just take them in as possibilities. And if I don't understand them, that's just what it is. It's a possibility. And I go as long as I can, like I said, until things get fuzzy. I hope that's helpful. Let me know in the comments what you think. But I have to tell you, I'm going to be true to the journals as they flow, however long they flow. I'm not designing this for some kind of an audience. I don't think about an audience at all. My focus is totally inward when I'm journaling. That's where they come from. That's where I come from. And that's what this is. And so help me to help you adapt. Thanks.